Have you ever felt that no matter how much effort you put in, it's never enough? As if there's always a higher standard to reach, another goal beyond the last one, a level of pressure that never lets up, even when things seem to be going well. For many people, this feeling has become part of daily life. It shows up when they wake up, follows them through the workday, invades moments of rest, and often stays until it's time to sleep. Excessive pressure, whether internal or external, has stopped being occasional and has turned into a nearly constant state. And although it's often confused with motivation or discipline, in reality, it can become one of the biggest threats to emotional health and productivity. We live in a culture that values results, performance, and efficiency at all times. From an early age, we're taught that we need to handle everything, be good at multiple areas of life, show constant progress, and never display vulnerability. When this mindset lacks balance, it creates an internal environment of continuous tension. The mind starts operating at a fast pace, always anticipating the next challenge, the next possible mistake, the next demand. The body responds as if it's under constant threat, activating stress mechanisms that, over time, deeply wear down emotional well-being. Gradually and subtly, excessive pressure begins to shape how a person sees themselves. Personal worth becomes almost entirely tied to performance. Productive days are seen as good days, while any mistake, delay, or drop in performance is interpreted as failure. This creates a dangerous cycle because human beings are not machines. There are physical, emotional, and cognitive limits that, when ignored, come at a high cost. Still, many people continue believing they just need to push harder, be tougher on themselves, and raise the bar even higher. Before we go deeper, if this topic already resonates with you, consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and activating the notification bell. That way, you support our work and make sure this kind of content keeps reaching you consistently. One of the most common effects of excessive pressure is anxiety. The mind starts living in the future, worrying about what could go wrong and about the possibility of not meeting expectations. Small tasks take on an exaggerated weight, simple decisions become sources of distress, and the fear of making mistakes becomes paralyzing. Instead of increasing productivity, excessive pressure often produces the opposite effect: procrastination, creative blocks, and difficulty concentrating. The desire to perform is there, but the internal pressure is so intense that the body and mind go into defense mode. Another significant impact is on self-esteem. When the internal bar is always set too high, there's rarely room to genuinely acknowledge achievements. Everything that's done feels like an obligation, never a success. The focus stays on what's missing, what could have been better, the detail that didn't meet the ideal standard. Over time, this erodes confidence and reinforces feelings of inadequacy. Even highly capable people can feel insufficient, as if they're constantly falling short. In the professional environment, excessive pressure is often romanticized. Phrases like, "if you really want it, you'll find a way," or "rest is for the weak," still circulate freely. Many organizations push aggressive goals without offering adequate emotional and structural support. The problem is, the human body wasn't designed to operate at peak performance all the time. Healthy productivity depends on cycles, pauses, and recovery. When these cycles are ignored, clear signs of burnout begin to appear: constant fatigue, irritability, decreased performance, memory difficulties, and even physical symptoms like headaches and digestive issues. Beyond work, excessive pressure directly affects relationships. Someone living under constant pressure tends to become more impatient, less tolerant, and emotionally unavailable. Communication becomes harder, leisure loses space, and simple moments stop being enjoyable. Life becomes overly functional and less meaningful, and this creates a sense of emptiness that even major achievements often fail to fill. It's important to understand that there's a clear difference between responsibility and excessive pressure. Being responsible means recognizing commitments, acting with dedication, and seeking growth. Excessive pressure, on the other hand, ignores limits, disregards emotional context, and turns mistakes into threats. While responsibility encourages development, extreme pressure suffocates it. It creates a hostile inner environment where the mind becomes its own harsh judge, always ready to condemn. Often, this pressure doesn't come from the outside. It's internalized over time through childhood experiences, family patterns, academic demands, and constant comparisons. A person learns that they'll only be accepted or valued if they perform above average. Eventually, this critical inner voice becomes automatic, repeating demands even when no one else is asking for anything. Silencing that voice isn't easy, but it is possible to learn how to question it and build a healthier relationship with oneself. When we talk about productivity, it's essential to break the idea that more pressure leads to better results. Research and real-life experience show that environments with psychological safety, where mistakes are seen as part of the process, tend to foster more creativity, engagement, and consistency. The brain functions better when it feels safe, not threatened. Excessive pressure activates fear-based responses, while healthy motivation activates curiosity and learning. Another often overlooked effect of excessive pressure is its impact on rest. Even during breaks, a mind doesn't truly switch off. People feel guilty for resting, as if they're wasting time. This prevents emotional and physical recovery, causing fatigue to accumulate. Over time, even activities that were once enjoyable lose their appeal because the mind is always focused on what should be done instead of simply being present. Recognizing these signs is the first step towards change. The body and emotions usually send warnings when something isn't right, but not everyone learns how to listen. Ignoring these signals can lead to more serious conditions, such as burnout, depression, and anxiety disorders. Taking care of emotional health isn't a luxury, it's a basic necessity for a balanced and functional life. When we begin to look more closely at excessive pressure, it becomes clear that it affects not just specific moments, but the entire way a person relates to time, work, and themselves. The constant sense of urgency creates the illusion that everything is a top priority. In this state, the brain remains in prolonged alert mode, making decision-making harder and reducing the ability to think strategically. Instead of acting with clarity, people start reacting, constantly trying to put out internal fires. Productivity, which is supposedly the goal of pressure, ends up being quietly undermined. Under constant stress, the brain prioritizes simpler or more immediate tasks, avoiding challenges that require creativity and deep thinking. This limits growth and innovation. Fear of making mistakes also leads many people to overcheck their work, spending energy on details that don't always make a real difference. The result is high effort with diminishing emotional and practical returns. One of the most harmful aspects of excessive pressure is the difficulty in recognizing limits. There's often a deeply rooted belief that admitting exhaustion is a sign of weakness. As a result, clear signs of burnout are ignored. The body keeps functioning, but in survival mode. Over time, this takes a serious toll, showing up as physical health issues, mood changes, and a significant drop in motivation. What once felt like passion or purpose turns into a heavy obligation. Learning to manage pressure in a healthier way doesn't mean giving up goals or discipline. On the contrary, it means building a stronger emotional foundation to sustain growth over time. People who balance healthy standards with self-compassion tend to be more consistent. They understand that mistakes are part of the process, and that rest isn't a reward, but a strategy to maintain their capacity to perform. Self-compassion, often misunderstood, isn't about lowering standards or avoiding responsibility. It's the ability to treat yourself with the same respect and understanding you'd offer someone you care about. Instead of mentally attacking yourself after a setback, you learn to analyze the situation clearly, extract lessons, and move forward without carrying excessive guilt. This approach reduces anxiety and increases emotional resilience. Redefining success is also essential. When success is measured only by final outcomes, the journey becomes a constant source of suffering. When the process, learning, and realistic effort are valued, the path becomes lighter and more sustainable. This doesn't diminish ambition, it aligns it with emotional well-being. Achievements reached at the cost of mental health rarely bring lasting fulfillment.
In the workplace, setting clear boundaries is one of the most effective ways to reduce excessive pressure. This includes learning to say no when necessary, negotiating deadlines consciously, and recognizing that not everything depends solely on individual effort. Overload often comes from trying to control everything, taking on more responsibility than is realistic, and attempting to meet unrealistic expectations. Developing assertive communication helps create more balanced relationships and reduces internal strain. Paying attention to internal dialogue is equally important. Automatic thoughts like, "I should be doing more," or "this isn't good enough," may seem harmless, but repeated daily, they shape self-perception. Challenging these thoughts, looking for more realistic evidence, and replacing harsh self-criticism with fairer assessments is a powerful form of emotional self-care. The way we speak to ourselves directly influences our energy and motivation. Creating intentional pauses throughout the day also makes a difference. Small moments of rest without excessive stimulation help regulate the nervous system. It's not just about stopping work, but allowing the mind to slow down. This improves mental clarity and enhances focus when returning to tasks. Ironically, those who rest better often perform better. Another key point is understanding that productivity isn't linear. There are high-energy days and low-energy days, and that's normal. Accepting this variability reduces frustration and prevents emotional exhaustion. Trying to maintain peak performance at all times ignores human nature and creates expectations that can't be sustained. True productivity lies in achievable consistency, not extreme intensity. As excessive pressure is gradually replaced by a more conscious approach, benefits begin to appear. The mind becomes clearer, decisions feel more grounded, and work starts to flow with less resistance. Satisfaction no longer depends solely on external results, but also on well-being throughout the process. This strengthens self-esteem and builds a healthier relationship with performance. Caring for emotional health is a long-term investment. It affects not just productivity, but overall quality of life. Emotionally balanced people handle challenges, frustrations, and change more effectively, maintaining a stronger sense of inner stability. Reducing excessive pressure doesn't mean giving up dreams. It means building a more humane and sustainable path to achieve them. If this content resonated with you, remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell. This helps us continue bringing meaningful conversations about well-being, mental health, and quality of life. Thank you for being here, for taking this time for yourself, and for walking with us towards a more balanced and conscious life.